Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Friday morning brought absolute chaos to the Minnesota Vikings kingdom, and not the kind of chaos that makes fans want to pull their hair out in frustration. No, this is the chaos of destiny. This is the kind of breaking news that makes you drop whatever you're doing and immediately check your phone. Because according to multiple sources, including Connor Hughes of SNY, one of the most legitimate NFL insiders in the entire business, the Minnesota Vikings are about to sign Kyler Murray. And folks, this isn't some wild speculation or wishful thinking from delusional fans. The odds are literally shifting in real time. Think about that for a second. When Connor Hughes broke this news early this morning, it was a bombshell. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The betting markets on the West Coast, we're talking DraftKings, we're talking the Vegas books that literally have millions of dollars on the line. They had the odds at minus 110 early this morning around 7 a.m. You know what those odds are now? Minus 300. That's not a slight shift. That's not a gentle movement. That's a complete and total overhaul of the prediction markets because the sharp money knows something. The sharp money is absolutely convinced this is happening. And when the Vegas books move odds like that in a matter of hours, you know the reporting is legitimate. But it's not just Connor Hughes feeding us this information. It's not just the Vegas books making these massive adjustments. We've had a crescendo of reporting building up over the last couple of days that's been pointing directly toward this moment. Paul Allen, absolutely legendary Vikings radio personality, was on his show talking about sources telling him that Kyler Murray desperately wants to be a Minnesota Viking. Desperately, not maybe. Not if the situation is right. Desperately. Then Alec Lewis came out with reporting that internally, within the Vikings organization, there's massive support among the players to bring Kyler Murray to Minnesota. Players who have to work with the guy every single day. Players who understand what it takes to win in this league. They're looking at Kyler Murray and they're saying, yes, that's our guy. And now, as if the football gods themselves are conspiring to make this happen, we're getting reports that the Las Vegas Raiders are moving off Geno Smith. Geno Smith is getting released. But here's the thing about that detail, and I want you to really understand why this matters. It doesn't actually matter because everyone with a functional brain already knew that Kyler Murray was the answer. Geno Smith was never the answer. Kirk Cousins was never the answer. Jalen Hurts is in Philadelphia doing his thing. We need a guy with dog. We need a guy with swagger. We need a guy who walked into that locker room and immediately makes everyone around him better just by his presence. So let me be absolutely clear about something before we dive deeper into this. I have been saying for months that the Minnesota Vikings don't just need to sign Kyler Murray. Kevin O'Connell and the front office should be feeling blessed. They should be feeling like they won the lottery because of how badly they botched this entire situation last offseason. Let's rewind the clock for a second and remind ourselves of what happened. The Vikings had Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, love him or hate him, he went out in free agency and proved he could be a legitimate NFL quarterback. He had a tremendous season. He won games. He made plays when it mattered. And then what did the Vikings do? They let him walk. They made the decision to bet everything on J.J. McCarthy, this young quarterback they drafted 10th overall. Now, look, I get it. The process made sense at the time. You have a young quarterback you spent a top 10 pick on. You have a roster that's already stacked with talent. You have a top 5 defense. You have Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. You have the pieces in place. You have a new head coach with a proven track record. So you take a swing on J.J. McCarthy. You roll the dice. You say, we believe in this kid. We believe in the future. The process was absolutely correct. But here's the problem with that decision, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat this because there's no point in being diplomatic about it anymore. J.J. McCarthy was not ready. He just wasn't ready. And while you were making that bet, Sam Darnold took himself to San Francisco, had an absolutely legendary season, led the 49ers to the NFC Championship game, and then what? Well, then someone else swooped in and made the smart play while the Vikings organization was left in quarterback hell. So here you are, stuck in the position where you need a quarterback. And guess what? The football gods, in their infinite wisdom, have presented you with possibly the greatest opportunity you could ever ask for. Available on the free agent market is a former #1 overall pick, a former Heisman Trophy winner, the most athletic quarterback this league has seen in years, a guy who is genuinely one of the best athletes to ever step on an NFL field, and he's available for just $1.3 million. Do you understand how absurd that is? The fact that Kyler Murray is available right now for that price is absolutely insane. The fact that he's available at all is insane. The Vikings should be on their knees, thanking the football gods, because this is a gift. This is a genuine gift, wrapped up with a bow on top and handed directly to Kevin O'Connell and the front office. And here's the thing that makes this even more special. Kyler Murray grew up as a Minnesota Vikings fan. He wanted to play for this team his entire life. That's not some hyperbole. That's not me exaggerating for dramatic effect. That's a fact. He grew up in the upper Midwest. He grew up watching Vikings football. He grew up dreaming about playing for this organization. So now you have a situation where you have a generational talent, a guy with elite athleticism, a guy with championship pedigree, a guy with a chip on his shoulder because things didn't work out the way he wanted them to in Arizona, and he desperately wants to come to your team. He wants to come home. This doesn't happen every day. This might not happen once in a generation, and the Vikings have the opportunity to make this move happen immediately when free agency opens. Let me explain why Kyler is different. Let me explain why he's not just another quarterback option that the Vikings should consider. Kyler Murray is 5'10". He's not massive. He doesn't have that traditional quarterback size that scouts talk about. But what he does have is athleticism that frankly is unmatched in this league. The guy was drafted in the first round by Major League Baseball. He could have been a professional baseball player if he wanted to. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He was the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Do you understand that pedigree? Do you understand what that means? That means that, in terms of pure athletic talent, Kyler Murray is in an extremely elite category. The way he moves in the pocket, the way he escapes pressure, the way he can make plays on the move, it genuinely reminds me of watching Caleb Williams play. There's a fluidity to Kyler's movement that most quarterbacks just don't have. When he scrambles, it's not some awkward gallop where he's hoping to get outside the pocket. It's graceful. It's natural. He flows through his progressions, even when the pocket breaks down. And once he gets outside the pocket, he's dangerous in ways that most quarterbacks can't even comprehend. The guy can absolutely sling it on the move. He's not just running. He's not just buying time. He's actively making plays happen. Now, compare that to the alternatives the Vikings had available to them. Geno Smith. Look, Geno has had a nice journey in this league. He's had a nice story. But is he a franchise quarterback? Absolutely not. Is he a Super Bowl winner? Not on his own. Kirk Cousins. Listen, Kirk is what he is at this point in his career. He's in his late 30s. He's a competent NFL quarterback, sure, but he's never been the guy who can carry a team to a championship. He's never been the guy where you look at him and think, that man right there is going to will us to victory. And J.J. McCarthy. Listen, I have nothing against J.J. He seems like a great kid. He's from Minnesota. He's got hometown ties. But he just wasn't ready last year, and bringing him back this year and hoping for the best is essentially accepting mediocrity. But Kyler Murray is different. Yes, things didn't work out in Arizona. Yes, there was some drama and some friction with the organization, but that doesn't mean Kyler is broken. That doesn't mean he's washed up. That doesn't mean he's done being great. What it means is that sometimes situations don't work out. Sometimes you're in an organization that's poorly run. Sometimes you're surrounded by dysfunction, and when that happens, a player needs a fresh start. A player needs an environment where he can thrive. And the Minnesota Vikings right now, with Kevin O'Connell, with Justin Jefferson, with a top 5 defense, with Brian Flores' unique defensive system, that's exactly the environment where Kyler Murray could thrive. Think about this from a big picture perspective. The Vikings won 9 games last season with some genuinely horrendous quarterback play. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. J.J. McCarthy was bad, Max Brown was bad, Carson Wentz was bad. The quarterback play across the board was some of the worst I've seen from the Vikings in years. And yet, somehow, they still managed to win 9 games. They still managed to have a respectable season. They still managed to stay competitive in the NFC. Do you realize what that says about the infrastructure of this organization? Do you realize what that says about the culture that Kevin O'Connell has built? That's not luck. That's not some random occurrence. That's organizational excellence. That's a team that believes in itself. That's a team that doesn't quit. That's a team that plays hard regardless of what's happening at the quarterback position. And now, imagine what that organization could do with a quarterback who actually has talent. Imagine what that defense could do with a quarterback who can score points. Imagine what Justin Jefferson could do with a quarterback who can get him the ball in rhythm. Imagine what this entire team could do with Kyler Murray under center. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this. The Minnesota Vikings with Kyler Murray are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, not a playoff team, not a wild card team. A legitimate Super Bowl contender. That's not a hot take. That's not me trying to get clicks. That's reality. Here's why. The Vikings defense is absolutely elite. Brian Flores has implemented a system that is genuinely unique in the NFL, and it's working. They're going to be a top 5 defense next year. That's not a prediction. That's just facts. Kevin O'Connell, for all my criticisms of him over the years, is a legitimate offensive mind. He's not on the level of Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he is, but he's a top 15 offensive coordinator in the NFL. He knows how to move pieces around. He knows how to get the most out of his players. He knows how to create opportunities for guys to succeed. So you have an elite coaching staff, both offensively and defensively. You have an elite roster. You have Justin Jefferson, one of the top 3 wide receivers in the game. You have the pieces in place. The only thing you've been missing is a quarterback with the talent to execute the vision. And now that quarterback is available. Kyler Murray is 28 years old. He's not coming to you as some young prospect where you're rolling the dice on potential. He's coming to you in the prime of his athletic career. He should be more mature than he was when he was coming out of the draft. He's had years of NFL experience. He's learned lessons from his time in Arizona. He's hungry for redemption. He's got something to prove. And honestly, I could not care less about the Call of Duty situation from last year. That whole drama with the Arizona Cardinals, that tells me more about the dysfunction in that organization than it tells me anything negative about Kyler Murray. That was an organization that didn't know how to manage their star quarterback. The Vikings organization is different. Kevin O'Connell is different. He's known for having good relationships with his players. He's known for creating a positive locker room environment. He's not some tyrant. He's not some control freak who needs to punish his players for every little thing they do. He understands the modern NFL. He understands how to manage elite talent. So putting Kyler Murray in a Minnesota Vikings uniform under Kevin O'Connell in a situation where he's desperately wanted both by the organization and by the fan base, with Justin Jefferson to throw to, with a dominant defense behind him, that's a recipe for success. That's a recipe for a team that's going to win 10 or 11 games next season minimum. Now, I want to talk about why some of the alternative options would be absolute disasters. And I mean that. Kirk Cousins or Geno Smith starting 17 games for the Minnesota Vikings would be a worst-case scenario. And I know people are going to push back on that. I know people are going to say, well, why are you being so dramatic? Why are you being so hyperbolic? Why would that be so bad? And here's the real answer. It would be bad because it would be lateral. It would be moving sideways instead of moving forward. Kirk Cousins is in his mid-30s. He's not going to be a franchise quarterback. He's a stopgap. He's a guy you bring in to maybe win 10 games this year while you figure out your future. Geno Smith is the same thing. He's a stopgap. He's a guy who's had a nice redemption arc in this league, but he's never going to be the guy who carries you to a championship. But what happens if you go that route? Well, maybe you win 10 games next season. Maybe you make the playoffs. Maybe you sneak into the wild card. But then what? You're stuck in the same position next year. You're stuck asking the same questions. You're stuck trying to figure out your quarterback situation. Meanwhile, you've wasted another year of Justin Jefferson's prime. You've wasted another year of this elite defense. You've wasted another opportunity to compete for a championship. And frankly, you've missed out on the generational opportunity to bring in a guy who could be a franchise quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Now compare that to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is 28. He can be the guy for a long time. If the Vikings go 10-7 with Kyler next year, then you have a real conversation. You have a real decision to make. You're talking about bringing him back. You're talking about building around him long term. You're talking about a franchise quarterback who's going to grow with the organization. That's completely different. That's not just winning games. That's building a future. That's creating something sustainable. And that matters in a way that a 1 or 2 year window with Kirk Cousins or Geno Smith just doesn't. And here's something else that people don't really think about. When a guy like Kyler Murray walks into your locker room, he brings something that can't be taught and can't be purchased. He brings an aura. He brings a swagger. He brings a presence that makes other players feel like they're playing for someone special. JJ McCarthy? I like JJ. I genuinely do. He seems like a good kid. He's got hometown ties. But when JJ walks in the locker room, he doesn't have that superstar presence. He doesn't have that championship swagger. He's not a guy that makes you think, oh, that's the guy. That's the franchise quarterback. With Kyler, it's completely different. When Kyler walks in the locker room, when Justin Jefferson sees him, when the rest of the team sees him, they think, that's a Heisman Trophy winner. That's a #1 overall pick. That's a guy who can carry this team. That matters in ways that are hard to quantify. And here's the thing that really gets me excited about this. Kyler Murray has dog. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the narrative is. Kyler Murray has a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. You don't become a Heisman Trophy winner. You don't become a #1 overall pick unless you have a genuine fire inside you, unless you have a genuine competitiveness that's off the charts. And right now, that competitiveness is going to be pointed directly at proving all the doubters wrong. He's going to come to Minnesota and he's going to say, I'm going to show everyone that I'm not a bust. I'm going to show everyone that the issue in Arizona wasn't me. I'm going to win a Super Bowl. That's the kind of energy you want from your quarterback. That's the kind of mentality that wins championships. The bottom line is this. The Minnesota Vikings are one quarterback away from being one of the best teams in the NFL. They're one quarterback away from being Super Bowl contenders. They're one quarterback away from being a team that can compete with anyone in the league on any given Sunday. And that quarterback is Kyler Murray. He's available. He wants to be here. The organization wants to sign him. The Vegas books are moving their odds. The sharp money is convinced it's happening. It's not a matter of if anymore. It's a matter of when. And when it happens, the Minnesota Vikings are going to be a completely different team. So here's what I need you guys to do. I need you to hit that subscribe button. I need you to lock in with this channel because these next 10 days are going to be absolutely crazy. Free agency is about to open. The Vikings still have moves to make. They still have guys to cut. They still have contracts to restructure. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be drama. There's going to be breaking news coming left and right. And this channel is going to be covering all of it. The second that Kyler Murray officially signs with the Minnesota Vikings, we're going live. We're celebrating. We're breaking it down. We're talking about what this means for the franchise. We're discussing the implications. We're diving deep into the football and why this move is going to change everything. But you're only going to see that content if you're subscribed. You're only going to get that immediate notification if you've hit that bell icon. You're only going to be part of this community if you commit right now. So please, subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment telling me what you think about Kyler coming to Minnesota. Tell me if you think this is as big a deal as I think it is. Tell me if you're excited. Tell me if you have concerns. I want to hear from you guys. The comments section is where the real conversation happens. That's where this community thrives. Because here's the real truth about what's happening right now. This is the most important moment in Minnesota Vikings football in the last 5 years. This is the moment that determines whether the next 5 years are going to be special or whether they're going to be wasted. This is the difference between being a team that competes and a team that rebuilds. This is the difference between maximizing the prime years of Justin Jefferson and wasting them. This is the difference between winning a championship and spinning your wheels in mediocrity. And it all comes down to whether the Vikings are smart enough to bring Kyler Murray home. So buckle up, guys, get ready. The craziest 10 days in NFL history are about to unfold. And we're going to be covering every single second of it right here on this channel. Subscribe, like, comment. Let's go. Vikings Nation, Kyler Murray is coming home. Let's go Vikings fans, we've got a long road ahead of us this offseason.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.